This is an e-commerce textbook. It was published in 2017 and it was published by Shruti Mathur. This book is meant for the course of BCom program semester 4, second year. Chapter 3, Technology for Online Business. Chapter Objectives. First, evolution and growth of Internet. Second, components of IT infrastructure. Third, middleware. Fourth, e-business integration. Fifth, domain name system. Sixth, internet, intranet and extranet. The first topic is evolution and growth of Internet. Evolution of the Internet. Millions of people use Internet every day, but only few rarely know how the Internet originated. In the 1960s, the US Department of Defense became concerned about the possible effects of nuclear attack on its computing facilities. The Defense Department realized that the weapons of future would require powerful computers for coordination and control. The powerful computers of that time were all large mainframe computers, so the Defense Department began examining ways to connect these computers to each other and also to connect them to weapon installations distributed all over the world. The Defense Department agency assigned with this task hired many of its best communication technology researchers. For many years, it funded research at universities and institutions to explore the task of creating a worldwide network that could remain operational. These researchers worked to devise new ways to build networks that could work independently. That is, networks that did not require a central computer to control network operations. In 1969, Defense Department researchers in the Advanced Research Project Agency ARPA used a network model to connect four computers, one each at the University of California at Los Angeles, SRI International, the University of California at Santa Barbara, and the University of Utah into a network called the ARPA net. The ARPA net was earliest of the networks which was eventually called Internet. During subsequent years, many researchers in the academic community connected to this network and contributed to the technological developments that increased the speed and efficiency with which the network operated. At the same time, researchers at other universities were creating their own networks using similar technologies. In 1972, a researcher wrote a program that could send and receive messages all over the network. Thus was born the email, which came to be widely used later on. In 1979, a group of students and programmers at Duke University and the University of North California started USCNet, an abbreviation for Users News Network. The USCNet allowed anyone who connects to the network to read and post articles on a variety of subjects. Although the paper using these networks were developing many creative applications, use of the network was limited to those members of the research and academic communities who could access them. The Defense Department networking software became more widely used in academic and research institutions as the organizations recognized the benefits of having a communication network. As the number of people in different organizations using these networks increased, security problems were recognized. The explosion of personal computer use during the 1980s also helped more people comfortable with computers. In the mid-1980s, another federal agency, National Science Foundation, created a new high-capacity network to connect supercomputer centers in the US, also called NSFNet, which was more capable than ARPANET. It merged various independent academic and research networks into each other. In 1984, ARPANET split into two interconnected networks. The military part was named MILNet, and the educational part, which kept the name ARPANET, became known as the Internet. The next topic is growth of Internet. In 1991, the NSF further eased its restriction on commercial Internet activity and began implementing plans to privatize the internet. The NSF took over the role of managing the internet after US government officials decommissioned ARPANET. The privatization of the internet was substantially completed in 1995 when the NSF turned over the operation of the main internet connections to a group of privately owned companies. The new structure of internet was based on 4 network access points (NAPs) located in San Francisco, New York, Chicago, and Washington DC, each operated by a separate telecommunication company. As the internet grew, more companies have opened more NAPs in more locations. These companies, known as network access providers, sell internet access rights directly to large customers and indirectly to smaller firms and individuals through other companies called Internet Service Providers (ISPs). The next is WWW, World Wide Web. The term Internet and World Wide Web are often used simultaneously, although they are technically different. The World Wide Web, or just the web as ordinary people call it, is a subset of the Internet. It is characterized by hypertext and multimedia capabilities, graphics, sound, video, etc., and can be thought of as a subset of the larger Internet. A key feature of the web is the use of hypertext. It is text that links to other information. By clicking on a hyperlink in a hypertext document, a user can quickly jump to different content. Hyperlink allows you to link directly from one web page to another. When you click on a hyperlink, another page or graphic, audio, video clip, etc. is displayed almost immediately. The web is composed of millions of websites. A website is a collection of web pages that are linked together and exist on a server, host computer. Exploring a website usually begins with a home page, table of contents, offering direct links to different parts of the websites. www was first developed by Tim Berners-Lee of Switzerland in 1990. Difference between Internet and WWW. The Internet is a network of thousands of networks. It collects millions of people globally, forming a network in which every computer can connect to any computer as long as both are connected to Internet. Information travels over the Internet by following a variety of rules, protocols. The WWW is a way of accessing the information over the Internet. The web users use HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, for accessing web pages of different websites. Users use web browser like Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, etc. Web is not a network. Instead, it is a system of clients, that is web browsers, and servers that use the Internet for data exchange. Web is just one of the ways that information can be exchanged over the Internet. The Internet, not the web, is also used for email, USENet, newsgroups, etc. Key web search elements. First, browser. A browser is a program that allows user to navigate the web. Example, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari, etc. Technically, a browser is a web client program that uses HTTP to make requests of the web servers throughout the Internet on behalf of the web browser user. Next, Hypertext Markup Language, HTML. HTML is used to create interactive web pages consisting of hypertext. Next, web page and website. A web page is a single file consisting of hypertext used as a basic element of the web. Websites are the group of web pages of usually same topic in one location owned by one entity. Next, URL, Uniform Resource Locator. As the name indicates, a URL is an address used to give the location of a resource on the web. Example, http://www.du.ac.in. Next, search engine. A software program that collects and indexes internet sources, web pages, Usenet newsgroups, programs, graphics, etc. It provides a network search system allowing the user to identify and retrieve resources based on words, phrases, etc. Example, google.com, yahoo.com, etc. Next, Spider. It is a software tool that prowls the internet looking for new sites where information is likely to reside. It is a program that roams the web from link to link, identifying and scanning web pages. Next, web server. Web servers are computers that deliver web pages. Every web server has an IP address and possibly a domain name. For example, if you enter the URL http://www.ac.in in your browser, this sends a request to the web server whose domain name is du.ac.in. The server then fetches the page and sends it to your browser. Any computer can be turned into web server by installing server software and connecting the machine to the internet. Next, web client. It is a user PC attached to the internet that is capable of making HTTP and request and displaying HTML pages. Who governs the internet? Internet is not owned by any particular country or body. There is no single authoritative organization. Rather, it is coordinated by many organizations. Various organizations are responsible for different types of activities which are explained below. First, IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force. It is a premier standard body. It is an open international community of networks, designers, operators, vendors, and researchers connected with the evolution of Internet architecture and smooth functioning of Internet. The body is responsible for discussing and investigating the operational and technical problems of Internet. It is the driving force for new standards. It proposes standards which are called requests for comments, RFC. Although these are drafts, they generally keep their names once they become standards. Second, the Internet Architecture Board, that is IAB. It provides overall architectural oversight, guidance, and directions to IEFT. It is also responsible for approving standards. Third, the Internet Society, ISOC. ISOC is again the society of Internet experts, including individuals, non-profit organizations, corporations, and government agencies. It comments on Internet policies and practices and oversees a number of other organizations, including IESG and IAB. Fourth, IESG, Internet Engineering Steering Group. IESG is responsible for technical management of IETF activities and the international standard process. It provides the final technical review of the Internet standards and is responsible for day-to-day management of IETF. Fifth, Internet NIC, that is Network Information Center. It is responsible for providing domain name information and registration services to the Internet community. Sixth, IANA, that is Internet Assigned Numbers Authority. It is responsible for assigning IP addresses to the users of the Internet. Seventh, WWW Consortium, that is W3C. It is a key standard body for developing and publishing protocols and standards for web. W3C is a membership organization where hundreds of organizational members and utilizers, dedicated professional staff, which contributes to the development of W3C specifications. The second topic is components of IT infrastructure. The term infrastructure in an information technology context refers to an enterprise's entire collection of hardware, software, networks, data centers, facilities, and related equipment used to develop, test, operate, monitor, manage, and/or support information technology services. It allows an organization to deliver IT solutions and services to its employees, partners, and/or customers, and is usually internal to an organization and deployed within owned facilities. Typically, a standard IT infrastructure consists of the following components: hardware, which includes servers, computers, data centers, switches, hubs, and routers, etc. Software comprised of enterprise resource planning, that is ERP, customer relationship management, CRM, productivity applications, etc. Network includes network enablement, internet connectivity, firewall, and security. Meatware includes human users such as network administrators, that is NA, developers, designers, end users, etc. The third topic is middleware. Middleware is a general term for software that serves to glue together separate, often complex and already existing programs. Some software components that are frequently connected with middleware include enterprise applications and web services. Middleware often sits between the operating system and applications on different servers and simplifies the development of applications that leverage services from other applications. This allows programmers to create business applications without having to custom craft integrations for each new application. Middleware is a mechanism that allows only one entity, that is application or database, to communicate with another entity or entities. In other words, middleware is a type of software that facilitates communications between two or more software systems. Choosing middleware to knit together this disparate systems can be one of the biggest headaches in IT, but getting it right can also be one of the biggest opportunities to reap competitive advantage. Deciding on the enterprise middleware. The various middlewares used in enterprises involved in e-commerce operations are discussed as follows. They are mail and collaboration, network and system management (NSM), security solutions, payment solutions, database management systems. First, mail and collaboration. Mail and collaboration middleware takes care of handling the communication and collaboration needs of the user. In selecting these systems, customers demand high levels of security and system performance, which helps in keeping in touch with all its employees. There are several types of email. These include proprietary local email systems that may also be connected to the internet, online service email, ISP, that is Internet Service Provider email, and web-based email. It should be noted that each of these types of email systems have the capabilities of communicating with each other via the internet. Therefore, email will be sent and received between these different types of systems. Proprietary local email systems. Many businesses and organizations use local email systems as a communication tool between the employees. Typically, messages are addressed to another person in the system by using their actual name or a username. Since the system is local to a single server, a full internet email address is not necessary. Although, if the system is connected to the internet, the longer internet email address would usually work. Next, online services. An online service is a business that provides its subscribers with a wide variety of information resources, including news, weather, sports, shopping, travel information, etc. Access to an online service is most commonly accomplished through a modem and a local phone number if the service providers provides local access where you live in. Three of the largest online services are AOL, that is America Online, CompuServe, third MSN, that is Microsoft Network. When you connect to an online service, you have access to all of its resources provided by the service. These services are not part of the internet available to the general public, although these services may have publicly accessible websites. In addition to the server's information resources, online services also provide internet access and email. This email system can act as a local system between subscribers to the service as well as of internet email. The software tools needed to access and use this email is integrated into the other online server's proprietary software. Email via an ISP. A local ISP, that is Internet Service Provider, is a business that provides their subscribers with access to the internet and email through a local phone line. Most ISPs provide POP email that can be accessed through any POP email client program. The three most popular POP email clients are: first, Messenger, included as a part of the Netscape Net Communicator suite of free products, which includes the popular web browser Navigator. Second, Outlook Express, a Microsoft product that is included for free with Windows. Its interface is similar to Internet Explorer, Microsoft's web browser. Third, Edora, a very popular freeware product. When you subscribe, your local ISP will provide you with one or all of these programs and the information and tools you need to install and set up this software for access to your email. Next, web-based email. Web-based email providers are websites that provide free email accounts to the subscribers. One advantage of these types of email account is that you can access your email from any computer that has access to the internet. Also, if you change your internet access provider, you don't need to change your email address. The primary disadvantages of these accounts is that they do not provide as many features as other types of email, access is relatively slow, and users have much smaller storage space. Web-based email providers include Postmark.net, Hotmail, owned and operated by Microsoft, Mail.com, Lycos Communications, formerly known as the Mail City, The Globe, Yahoo Mail, GoMail, iName, and many more. Some basic guidelines for selecting the use of email type. Use a proprietary local email system that is connected to the internet if it is available through employer. If personal use is not allowed or not available from home, it will probably need a second email account of some other type. Next, online services. AOL, CompuServe or MSN cost a little more than a local ISP but also gives a lot more, and they are generally more reliable. The main limitation with these services is the existence of local phone numbers. Next, email through a local ISP is available in most communities through a local phone system, and user subscription also gives access to the internet. Next, a web-based email account can be very convenient because it gives the access to email from any computer in the world that has access to the internet. Also, if user changes to a different internet provider, he does not have to change his email address. But since these accounts are processed through websites, user will still need access to the internet, which probably means an account through a local ISP or online service. Second, Network and System Management (NSM). NSM refers to the administration and management of the networks and computer systems in the organization. The vision of NSM, also known as Networked Systems Management, is to enable the management of a distributed set of systems in a fashion similar to that in which many centralized data centers are managed. Network management refers to the broad subject of managing computer networks. There exists a wide variety of software and hardware products that help network system administrators manage a network. Network management covers a wide area including security, ensuring that the network is protected from unauthorized users; performance, eliminating bottlenecks in the network; third, reliability, making sure the network is available to users and responding to hardware and software malfunctions. System management is the management of the information technology systems in an enterprise. This includes gathering requirements, purchasing equipment and software, distributing it to where it is used, configuring it, maintaining it with enhancement and service updates, setting up problem handling processes, and determining whether objections are being met. The department that performs system management is sometimes known as Management Information System or simply Information System. Network management and database management can be viewed as a part of systems management or may be viewed as co-equal parts of a total information system. Trends and issues in systems management include: first, the total cost of ownership, which emphasizes that updating and servicing equipment is likely to be a major cost. Second, the right balance of resources and control between centrally managed and network distributed systems. Third, the outsourcing of all or part of information systems and systems management. Fourth, tactical versus strategic purchasing decisions. Fifth, the choices between proprietary, compatible, and open source software. Sixth, exploitation of the internet and web interfaces. Sixth, graphical user interfaces for controlling the information system. Seventh, security management, including security for mobile device users. Third, security solutions. In today's world, it is relatively easy to create, alter, and transmit information. The advancement in computing capacity and interconnectivity has presented a situation where small efforts can cause potentially large losses. Both accidental and intentional breaches are easier and more likely. This is a major challenge to businesses that want to take advantage of the current information technology. Security is an essential part of any transaction that takes place over the internet. Customers will lose his or her faith in e-business if its security is compromised. Following are the essential requirements for safe e-payments transactions. First, confidential. Information should not be accessible to unauthorized person. It should not be intercepted during transmission. Second, integrity. Information should be altered during its transmission over the network. Third, availability. Information should be available wherever and whenever required within limited time specified. Fourth, authenticity. There should be a mechanism to authenticate user before giving him or her access to required information. Fifth, non-repudiability. It is a protection against denial or order or denial of payment. Once a sender sends a message, the sender should not be able to deny sending the message. Similarly, the recipient of message should not be able to deny receipt. Next, encryption. Information should be encrypted and decrypted only by authorized user. Next, auditability. Data should be recorded in such a way that it can be audited for integrity requirements. Measures to ensure security. Some of the major security measures are discussed as follows. First, encryption. It is a very effective and practical way to safeguard the data being transmitted over the network. Sender of the information encrypts the data using a secret code, and specified receiver only can decrypt the data using the same or different secret code. Digital signature. Digital signature includes the authenticity of the information. A digital signature is an e-signature authenticated through encryption and password. Next, security certificates. Security certificate is unique digital ID used to verify identity of an individual website or user. Security protocols in internet. Following are the popular protocols used over the internet which ensure security of transactions made over the internet. A. Secure Socket Layer (SSL). It is the most secure, commonly used protocol and is widely used across the industry. It meets following security requirements: authentication, encryption, integrity, etc. B. Secure Hypertext Transfer Protocol (SHTTP). SHTTP extends the HTTP Internet Protocol with public key encryption, authentication, and digital signature over the internet. Secure HTTP supports multiple security mechanisms providing security to end users. SHTTP works by negotiating encryption scheme types used between client and server. C. Secure Electronic Transaction. It is a secure protocol developed by MasterCard and Visa in collaboration. Theoretically, it is the best security protocol. It has following components. First, cardholder's digital wallet software. Digital wallet allows cardholder to make secure purchases online via point and click interface. Second, merchant software. This software helps merchants to communicate with potential customers and financial institutions in secure manner. Third, payment gateway server software. Payment gateway provides automatic and standard payment process. It supports the process for merchant certificate request. Fourth, certificate authority software. This software is used by financial institutions to issue digital certificates to cardholders and merchants and to enable them to register their account agreements for secure electronic commerce. Fourth, payment solutions. An e-commerce payment system facilitates the acceptance of electronic payment for online transactions. Also known as a sample of electronic data interchange, EDI, commerce payment systems have become increasingly popular due to the widespread use of the internet-based shopping and banking. Internet payment systems refer to the various methods by which individuals and companies doing business online collect money from their customers in exchange for the goods and services they provide. A number of different forms of payment exist for online purchases, and more are being developed all the time. Customers who physically visit retail establishments can choose among a variety of payment methods, including cash, checks, credit cards, and debit cards. Customers who shop on the internet are beginning to expect online merchants to offer the same variety and convenience in payment terms. Credit cards remain the most common form of payment for online purchases, although options have been expanded to include digital cash, smart cards, electronic checks, and other technologies. In addition, some customers continue to make online purchases using traditional payment methods such as placing orders by telephone or fax, or sending a check via email. The biggest issue affecting online payment systems from both the sellers and buyers' perspectives is maintaining the security of financial information sent over the internet. Characteristics of efficient payment systems. Following are the most important features that every payment system should possess. First, privacy. This characteristics reflects the desire of users to protect their privacy, identity, and personal information. In some transactions, the identities of the parties could be protected by anonymity. Anonymity suggests that it's not possible to discover someone's identity or to monitor an individual's spending patterns. Where it is important, the cost of tracking a transaction should outweigh the value of the information that can be obtained by doing so. As an illustration, when a customer pays with debit card, the purchase is registered at the vendor and bank's databases. It's possible to find out what amount paid and what was actually purchased. Thus, debit card payments are not anonymous. On the contrary, when one pays with cash at a shop or in a marketplace, no one can say by examining the cash that money came from the payer, as there is no direct information about the payer's personality associated with the bank notes. This cash is an anonymous payment system. Currently, the right of users to choose how their personal information is disclosed is viewed. The right of users to enjoy is viewed as privacy. There are privacy laws in several countries that limit usage of personal information by banks, authorities, and other parties, including online business and payment systems, like European Privacy Acts or similar directives. Example, European Commission Data Protection Directive. Second, applicability or acceptability. The value added of a payment mechanism is dependent upon how useful it is for buying something. Applicability of a payment system is defined as an extent to which it is accepted for payments at point of sale or at online e-commerce sites in the case. For instance, cash is accepted widely and virtually everywhere in the offline world and has a very high level of applicability. Debit cards and credit cards have a very high applicability as one can pay with them in a variety of places. The applicability of a payment system may vary from country to country. For example, in Germany and in Netherlands, checks are no longer common due to the steady growth of other payment methods. However, in the UK and USA, checks are still quite a common method of payment. The level of the applicability is quite high. Third, authorization. The authorization type can be offline or online. Offline authorization means that users of the system can exchange money while not connected to a network without a third party mediating for the transaction. Paper checks are an illustration of offline authorization. The ability to make peer-to-peer payments, however, is not fully dependent on the authorization type. It is possible with both the online or offline authorization. However, for peer-to-peer payments with offline authorizations, users should be physically connected with each other. Payments with conventional cash are an example of peer-to-peer payments with offline authorization. Some electronic payment methods, example Mondex, also offer this kind of service. Users can exchange money offline by connecting their Mondex cards via hardware card reading devices. Fourth, convertibility. Naturally, users will select payment mechanisms as financial instruments according to their needs. Numerous payment schemes have emerged up to this date, and users can expect new systems to appear, all providing an assorted variety of services and applications for various purposes. Funds represented by one payment mechanism can be easily converted into funds presented by other payment systems. Users should be able to transfer money from electronic payment system to another accepted money form. Example, receive it in cash or transfer to a bank account. Fifth, efficiency. A system which entertains the characteristics of efficiency should be able to process small payments and micro payments without performing degradation of performance and without imposing the high transaction costs. The cost per transaction should be reasonable for processing small amounts. Adherence of small payments promote numerous applications, from paying for articles, news, and stock reports to pay-per-view sites. Sixth, interoperability. A payment system is interoperable if it is not dependent on one company, but it is open and allows other interested parties to join. This can be achieved by means of open standards for data transmission protocols and infrastructure. An interoperable system can faster gain the necessary customer base for future development and will have a high level of applicability. Seventh, multi-currency. Effective and efficient payments between different countries are possible when a system allows processing multiple currencies, as it is done with credit cards. This feature, however, is not implemented or foreseen in payment systems of many countries, binding them to a particular currency region. Multi-currency payments are required for payments in cross-border electronic businesses and e-commerce. Eighth, reliability. Users and businesses always want a system that is reliable because the availability of services and the smooth running of an enterprise will depend on the availability and successful operation of the payment infrastructure. If there is a breakdown of systems due to hackers' attack or due to poor engineering, the cost of such breakdown and failure to maintain reliable operations will be unrecoverable. Ninth, scalability. As the commercial use of the internet grows, the demand placed on payment infrastructure will also increase. The payment infrastructure should be scalable to handle the addition of new users and merchants so that systems will perform normally without performance degradation and maintain the required quality of service. Among the least scalable systems are those that require from merchants to purchase and install additional software and hardware, because this increases the overall cost of accepting the payment for the merchants. This often hampers development of token-based system and purchases. Next is security. One of the most crucial and well-researched issues in payment systems is security. Since the internet is an open network with no centralized control, the infrastructure supporting electronic commerce and payment systems in particular must be resistant to attacks in the internet environment. Security can be viewed as a twofold issue. On the one hand, users would like to be sure that their money is safe when paying online. On the other hand, banks and payment service organizations would like to protect themselves so that no money, financial, or personal information can be stolen or misused. Security of electronic cash systems has an aspect of counterfeiting. No one should be able to produce electronic tokens in their own, otherwise banks or governments will have to pay for such counterfeiting. Another aspect of security of electronic cash is double spending. What cash transactions achieve by the physical nature of cash is that money can be spent only once. In the computing environment, where copying information and modifying records is easy, this property becomes a challenge for engineers. An EPS operator should ensure that electronic cash cannot be spent twice. 11th, traceability and linkability. Traceability indicates how easy it is to trace money flows and source of funds that are going through a payment system and used for purchases. In electronic payment systems, money can be traced by records that are kept of a payment activity. For example, information about credit card payments is stored by banks and credit card companies, and it is possible to find out what money was used for and where it came from. Here, traceability is associated with anonymity and privacy of the payment system. Traceability is related to the linkability of payments. Linkability of an EPS implies that payments can be associated with a particular user, or that it is possible to recognize several payments originating from the same user. Users can be linked to their spendings even if the system they use is anonymous. This can be done by using information that is indirectly associated with users. Example, the physical location where the payments take place. Despite that individual payments are anonymous, a relation between a user and his payments can be established based on this indirect information associated with the user. 12th, usability. It should be not a sophisticated or complex task to pay online. Payments are to be done in an easy and user-friendly way. This requirement can be manifested in ease of the user of the system. In such a responsible task as the payment process, users should have minimum factors making complicated or distract them. An overly complex payment process accompanied by other complications associated by ESPs or an e-commerce payment environment can turn customers away from a financial transaction and even future e-commerce activities. For example, the processes of paying when you have to fill in a lengthy form with a name, an email address, address details, a 16-digit credit card number plus expiration date cannot be called an easy one when compared with cash payments. This is the very process that most internet shoppers have to go through to make their online credit card payments. Poor usability of a web shop or a payment method also discourages spontaneous purchases. Certain e-commerce companies demonstrate understanding of the importance of this issue. To remedy this, the situation for credit card payments renewed. Online bookseller Amazon.com has devised a checkout method to allow users to make payments with a minimum of authorization steps and information output. Fifth, database management system. DBMS. A database management system is a system software for creating and managing databases. The DBMS provides users and programmers with a systematic way to create, retrieve, update, and manage data. A database is a collection of related data organized in a way that data can be easily accessed, managed, and updated. Any piece of information can be a data, for example, name of your college. Database is actually a place where related piece of information is stored and various operations can be performed on it. A DBMS software that allows creation, definition, and manipulation of a database. DBMS is actually a tool used to perform any kind of operation on data in database. DBMS also provides protection and security to database. It maintains data consistency in case of multiple users. Here are some examples of popular DBMS: MySQL, Oracle, Sybase, Microsoft Access, and IBM DB2, etc. Examples of database applications. The following are examples of database applications: computerized library systems, automated teller machines, flight reservations, computerized parts inventory systems. The next topic is e-business integration. An e-business requires a variety of internet-enabled applications including e-commerce, websites, portals, supply chain management, procurement management, online marketplaces, customer relationship management, and enterprise resource planning. All these applications must be integrated with one another to make an enterprise an e-business. The necessity for e-businesses is to become an organization which will respond to internal and external events as they occur, because information is exchanged across departmental boundaries without any delay. This drives enterprise-wide integration of information systems and applications. For instance, in a smoothly running e-business, an order received at an electronic storefront is automatically visible to a customer service representatives who must answer customer inquiries about its status. The order is automatically propagated to supply chain application to start a planning and execution operation. The order information is exchanged over the internet with a supplier or a partner who provides fulfillment and delivery. Reasons for e-business integration. The business drivers of e-business integration translate into specific requirements within an integration infrastructure. There are basically three fundamental reasons for e-business integration. First, synchronizing data between data information systems. The first reason is the need to synchronize data between information systems. E-business requires a consistent, global, enterprise-level view of the business objects or information. For instance, they require a single integrated view of the customer across various lines of business. Second, a consistent view of their supply chain inventory and of demand patterns with their suppliers and partners. Third, a consistent view of their finances across all of their disparate financial tracking systems. The fundamental integration need in all of these cases is for a consistent global view of information across the different systems that synchronize data between the different information systems. Second, isolating applications and businesses. A second reason for intra-enterprise or business-to-business integration is to separate one's company's business processes and applications from those of its trading partners. Isolating applications from each other. The growing complexity of software and the associated difficulty in upgrading to new software versions make it necessary to isolate applications. As software grows more complicated, developers increasingly break big problems into multiple smaller programs that can be solved separately. Isolating business from each other. Software complexity also affects the way one business communicates with another for business to business commerce. Each company looks to its trading partner as the provider of a service with well defined standard interfaces. Isolating one company's internal business processes with those of another enables each company to modify its internal processes without affecting its trading partners. For instance, a company can change its own internal purchase order approval process. Because suppliers send the company purchase orders in a standard format over a standard internet protocol, they are isolated from a company's purchase order approval process. This separation is a fundamental requirement for business to business commerce. Third, streamlining multi-step business processes. Business process automation, frequently called in the industry straight-through processing, defines a process through which a multi-step process is streamlined. Automation eliminates human intervention by enabling one application to communicate directly to another. For instance, most small electronic storefronts and companies conducting commerce online transfer new orders accepted by the front-end web store database to the back-office financial and supply chain systems by using a manual process such as File Transfer Protocol (FTP). Such manual intervention causes three problems. It introduces the possibility of human error, it reduces the speed and efficiency of order processing, and it raises the total cost for operating the storefront as the volume of order grows. Larger websites use a number of enterprise integration technologies to automate and streamline this multi-step business process. These enable the storefront database to automatically propagate the order first to the financial system, where the customer's credit history is validated, and then to the supply chain management to start the manufacturing and delivery process. Business process automation helps companies reduce cost, improve customer satisfaction, speed up business processes, and respond more rapidly to competition. E-business integration technologies and approaches. There are various technological alternatives available for integration. The three primary technological alternatives for e-business integration are: first, data consistency and synchronization technologies that use data replication and database gateways. Next, component-oriented development facilities, object request brokers, and synchronous integration methodologies. Next, message-oriented middleware and as Synchronous integration facilities. Each of these integration technologies is suited to a specific kind of integration problem. No single integration methodology is used to all integration problems. The next topic is domain name system. Each node on the internet must have a unique IP address in numeric format. As IP addresses are difficult to remember, internet domain names were created to give an easy to use system. For example, IP address of Reserve Bank of India is 202.154.164.214. Instead of it, the simple domain name for the same is https://www.rbi.org.in/. Instead of numeric IP addresses that are easy to remember, this URL has three parts. First, http:// this represents the internet protocol. Second, www.rbi. Domain name www means World Wide Web. RBI is second level domain and represents Reserve Bank of India. They are generally chosen on the basis of name of organization which are specific or represent organization. Third, .org is top level domain. Some top level domains. .org represents non-profit organizations. .com for commercial organizations and businesses. .gov for government agencies. .mil for government military agencies. .net for companies that support internet. .uk, .ca, .in country codes formalized by ISO. .int that is international organization. Registration of domain names. Once a company has decided on its domain name, the next step is to get registered before anyone else gets the same. There are two ways of doing it. First, getting it done on your own. Second, through an internet service provider. Getting the domain name registered is very simple. The business needs to fill up a simple form and pay a nominal fees for the same. This facility is available online on various sites like www.register.com, www.networksolutions.com. DNS, Domain Name Server. The domain name server was developed to translate between numeric IP addresses used by the computer and less technical name that user can understand. Once a domain name gets registered, the ISP is contacted. ISP in turn will transfer the domain name to its DNS server. ISP charges some nominal fee for such transfer. The next topic is Internet, Intranet and Extranet. The Internet is the most commonly and widely used computer network, but it is not the only type of computer network for sharing information digitally. Internet, intranet, and extranet are three distinct types of networks with some similarities. While the Internet is open to anyone and everyone, intranet and extranet are designed for smaller groups of people. Intranet is only available to a small group of people. Intranet is mainly used within businesses and organizations to provide access to files and applications among networked computers and servers. If an intranet does connect to the internet, a firewall is used to prevent outside access to the intranet. The purpose is to allow people within the same company to share some information over a local area network. It is sometimes referred to as a private internet. Extranet is similar to intranet, but it is accessible via a web portal. An extranet may be accessed from anywhere if the user has a valid username and password. The purpose of this type of network is to allow collaboration and sharing of resources, not only in-house, but with a select group of outside users. For instance, businesses will use an extranet to allow customers to log in to private input on projects. Another example is using a virtual private network to allow employees to log into the network when they are not in the office. Now we'll see the difference between internet, intranet and extranet. So the first column is basis, second is internet, third is intranet and fourth is extranet. The first basis is type of e-commerce activity. Internet, B2C type of transaction. Intranet, internal processing related transactions. Extranet, B2B type of transaction. The second basis is access. Internet unrestricted, accessible to anyone connected. Intranet restricted to employees and staff. Extranet restricted to members of the organizations and business partners. Third basis is type of network. Internet, it is a global system of interconnected computer network. Intranet, it is the private network specific to an organization. Extranet, it is a private network that uses public network to share information with suppliers and vendors. Fourthly, the basis is regulated. Internet, it is not regulated by any authority. It has no hard and fast policies. Intranet, it is regulated by an organization. There is a complete organizational policy behind the setup of the intranet. Extranet, it is regulated by multiple organizations, and again there are policies of organizations involved behind the setup of extranet. The next basis is number of devices connected. Internet, it is largest in terms of number of connected devices. Intranet, it is a small network with minimal number of connected devices. Extranet, the number of devices connected is comparable with intranet. The next base is owner. Internet, it is owned by no one. Intranet, it is owned by a single organization. Extranet, it is owned by a single or multiple organization. The next base is scope. Internet, it is means of sharing information throughout the world. Intranet, it is means of sharing sensitive information throughout the organization. Extranet, it is means of sharing the information between members and selected outsiders. The next basis is security. Internet security is dependent on the user of device connected to network. Intranet security is enforced via a firewall, and extranet security is enforced via a firewall that separates internet and extranet. The next basis is example. Internet is normally used by people for their personal work. Intranet, Wipro uses intranet network, internal network for its business operations. And extranet, HP and Intel use network for business related operations. The next basis is password protection. Internet users can access internet anonymously. And intranet users should have valid username password to access intranet. For extranet, users should have valid username password to access it. The next basis is type of information exchange. Internet, almost all information is available in public domain exchanged through the internet. Intranet, internal telephone directories, office notices, minutes of the meetings, availability of the stock, sales information are exchanged through intranet. Extranet, just-in-time information about tender, prices, labor requirements, etc. are shared through extranet. The next basis is cost. The internet is the most economical. Intranet, it requires considerable cost in setting up of software, hardware, and employees training. Extranet, it too requires considerable amount as in case of intranet. The next section is test your understanding. Question number 1. Explain the domain name system of websites. Question number 2. What do you mean by middleware? Explain various middleware used in online business enterprises. Question 3. How has internet evolved? Who governs internet? Question number 4. What do you understand by World Wide Web? Is it same as internet? Question 5. What is IT infrastructure? What are its components? Question number 6. What is e-business integration? Explain its relevance and drivers. Question number 7. What is extranet? How is it different from internet and intranet? Question number 8. Write short notes on first, mail and collaboration, second, network and system management, third, security